They look like dream boats, but some of them are floating death traps. From silent carbon monoxide killers to hulls that crack under pressure, these are the boats that left families stranded, injured, or worse. You won't find warning labels, but the risks are real. Before you set foot on your next vessel or hit "Buy now," watch this. Because some boats were built to fail, and yours might be one of them. Ranken Boats were supposed to be the everyman's affordable entry into boating. Instead, they became infamous for cutting corners so severely that they earned the nickname Stinkin' Rankens. Built in South Carolina, these boats suffered from notoriously poor construction. Soft floors, thin fiberglass, and misaligned hardware were just the beginning. Many of these boats were underpowered from the factory. Owners frequently reported engine failures, and some ended up replacing the motors 2 or 3 times. Their light build made them nearly unusable in ocean conditions, with structural issues surfacing even on inland lakes. One dealer bluntly stated, "Even Bayliner looks good compared to those." When Ranken went out of business in 1995, it was the final nail in the hull. Parts vanished, warranties became worthless, and the already questionable boats became ticking time bombs on water. Originally built for offshore racing, and later adopted by drug runners in the 1980s, cigarette boats are icons of power and speed, but also danger. With sleek hulls and horsepower often exceeding 2,000, these boats are engineered to push the limits of watercraft performance. But that speed comes with extreme risk. The phenomenon known as crabbing, when the boat slides sideways at high velocity, is common. Combine that with a narrow hull, unpredictable takeoffs, and the need for razor-sharp steering input, and you have a boat that punishes even small mistakes. One wrong move at 80+ knots and it's over. Boats like the Cigarette Tirana push 2,700 horsepower. That's fighter jet energy without the margin for error. These aren't pleasure boats. They're weapons in the wrong hands. Go-fast catamarans are designed for one thing: maximum speed. Their ultralight, twin-hull designs slice through calm water with surgical precision. But when the weather turns or the seas get rough, these boats reveal a dark side. Instability, unpredictability, and a terrifying tendency to flip. One of the most famous incidents was the 2018 capsize of Fujin in 40-knot winds. The boat was state-of-the-art, but its lightweight build became a liability. At high speeds, these cats don't behave like traditional boats. They can pitch violently, leap off waves, or flip entirely, often with little warning. Many experienced operators treat them like race cars on water. And that's the problem. Race cars have roll cages. These don't. When go-fast cats fail, they do it fast, and with no forgiveness. Think that's bad? The next ones are worse. Some look safe, but were built to fail. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the boat that might be hiding in your own marina. Bayliner made boating affordable in the 1980s, but that low price came at a high cost. Many older models, especially the Capri and Motor Yacht 3388, were built with cheap materials, questionable layouts, and underpowered engines, often force outboards, which had their own reliability nightmares. Serious issues included batteries mounted dangerously close to fuel lines, leading to fire hazards. Some hulls cracked under stress, and hatches visibly sagged under body weight. Owners reported soft decks, rotting stringers, and electrical gremlins that left them stranded more than once. These boats were considered starter vessels, for good reason. By the late 80s, the quality had started to improve, but the damage to Bayliner's reputation was already done. Older models are now a gamble, and sometimes a fire hazard. Sportcraft's 23-foot models may look like typical fishing boats, but their design hides a dangerous flaw. These boats featured transoms that were prone to water intrusion, especially when at rest or carrying extra weight near the stern. It wasn't an isolated problem. It was baked into the hull design. The danger is subtle. You could be anchored, enjoying lunch or prepping your rods, while water slowly seeps in through poorly sealed joints or scuppers. In rough weather, these boats took on water rapidly, sometimes without warning. What should have been a peaceful outing could turn into a mad scramble for bilge pumps, or worse, a mayday call. What's scarier? Many of these issues didn't show until the boat was already in the water, and by then, it could be too late. In the 1970s, Thompson Manufacturing pushed the tri-hull design as a revolutionary leap in boat stability. In theory, 3 hulls meant more balance and a smoother ride. In reality, these boats were punishing to operate in anything but glass-flat conditions. Owners quickly discovered the hulls didn't cut through waves, they slammed into them. The ride was rough, noisy, and unpredictable. In choppy water, the bow had a nasty habit of nose-diving into swells, launching passengers, or submarining entirely. The pounding wasn't just uncomfortable, it was dangerous. The worst part? You never knew when it would happen. One moment, you're cruising along. The next, the boat pitches forward like it hit a brick wall. For families and casual boaters, these tri-hulls were more liability than innovation. Steelcraft boats were built like tanks, and that was the problem. Their steel hulls seemed indestructible, but they brought a host of hidden dangers. Unlike fiberglass, steel corrodes from the inside out, meaning many hulls looked fine on the surface, while rust quietly weakened them from within. Handling was another nightmare. In following seas, when waves chased the boat from behind, Steelcrafts developed a mind of their own. Operators reported sudden, uncontrollable turns or rolling, especially when throttle inputs weren't perfect. These weren't boats you could relax in. Combine unpredictable handling with structural rot you can't see, and you have a disaster waiting to happen. Even experienced skippers found these boats exhausting to run safely. In an emergency, they didn't respond. They resisted. Pontoon boats are deceptively comforting. Wide decks, comfy seating, and an easygoing vibe. But underneath that floating patio is a design that struggles in real-world danger. Pontoons are notoriously sluggish to steer, especially at low speeds or in crowded marinas. Add alcohol, and the risk goes through the roof. The flat design that makes them stable also means they can't cut through waves or avoid obstacles quickly. In emergency situations, they often just drift. Many accidents involving pontoons aren't from bad weather. They're from slow reactions and impaired drivers. Statistics show disproportionately high incident rates with pontoons and alcohol. Even high-end brands like Godfrey can't escape physics. These boats are built for calm days and chill cruises, not evasive maneuvers, and definitely not chaos. The Mako Prokf 19cc is a well-loved boat until someone slaps a 115 horsepower outboard on it. That's where things go from practical to potentially lethal. Oversized engines cause massive bow rise during acceleration, leaving the operator blind for crucial seconds during takeoff. This isn't just inconvenient, it's flat-out dangerous. When you can't see where you're going, every launch becomes a gamble. Add other boat traffic, shallow water, or floating debris, and you've got a perfect recipe for disaster. The hull was never designed for that much torque. Some operators report the bow rising so steeply it feels like the boat might flip backward. Mako didn't build it to be a rocket, but people treat it like one. And when it goes wrong, it goes really wrong. We're not even halfway, and it's already terrifying. But the next boats, they failed in ways that should have been impossible. Tap subscribe so you don't miss the ones still out there being sold today. Malibu boats built before 2017 look like the perfect family wake machines, but lurking behind their clean styling is a tragic history of carbon monoxide incidents. The layout of these boats, especially with stern-heavy designs, created a CO pocket right where riders were hanging on. Activities like teak surfing, holding onto the swim platform at low speed, became deadly. Victims weren't being reckless. They were poisoned by invisible gas they didn't even know was there. Malibu and safety regulators eventually pushed warning labels and design changes, but for years these boats were sold without adequate safeguards. Some owners had no idea they were putting loved ones in harm's way. When the symptoms hit, dizziness, fatigue, blacking out, it was often too late. A silent killer built into a ski boat. Jet skis might be fun, fast, and easy to rent, but they're among the most dangerous watercraft out there. Why? Speed, agility, and inexperience. PWCs respond instantly to throttle and steering inputs, and that's not great when your rider has zero training. The Sea-Doo Fish Pro is a popular model, but like many PWCs, it's been involved in countless wake-jumping accidents, high-speed collisions, and severe injuries. Riders are often thrown at 50+ miles per hour, sometimes into other boats. Internal injuries aren't uncommon and can be hard to detect until it's too late. The small size fools people into thinking they're toys, but jet skis are capable of highway speeds on open water. And when you mix speed with recklessness, or worse, alcohol, that fun weekend ride can end in a medevac. Century Coronado boats were once considered stylish classics, but beneath the luxury veneer lay serious structural problems. The fiberglass construction from this era relied heavily on woven roving, a material that can lead to delamination, the separation of fiberglass layers, over time. This meant many boats looked solid on the surface, but were actually degrading internally. In saltwater, the deterioration was even faster. As the hull weakened, fittings started to loosen, causing leaks and mechanical failures. Some boats would creak and flex in moderate chop, a terrifying sign for any captain. Combine that with underpowered engines for their weight, and you get a boat that's slow to react in an emergency and may literally come apart at the seams. The Coronado was built for looks, not longevity, and it shows. The Tracker PT-195 was designed as a sleek aluminum base boat, lightweight, fast, and budget-friendly. But in 2025, this model faced a serious USCG recall after failing level flotation standards. In simple terms, if the boat takes on water, it can sink faster than it should. For fishing boats, that's a major problem. You're often sitting still, loaded with gear, and relying on balance in choppy coves or during storms. The flotation failure means the boat may not remain upright if swamped, giving passengers less time to react or grab safety gear. Tracker has long been a trusted name in entry-level fishing boats, which made this recall even more alarming. It wasn't about luxury or convenience, it was a basic safety expectation. And the PT-195 didn't meet it. The Aluma Weld Talon 18 is a rugged aluminum boat designed for shallow rivers and lakes. But a 2025 recall revealed it failed to meet minimum flotation requirements. That means if you swamp it, say from a sudden wave, rain, or overloaded gear, it might not stay afloat long enough for a rescue. That's especially troubling for small boat anglers who often operate solo or in remote locations. Flotation isn't just a technicality. It's the only thing keeping you above water when everything else fails. And in the Talon 18's case, it simply wasn't sufficient under USCG standards. Many owners trusted Aluma Weld's reputation and used these boats hard. But this recall proved that even the toughest-looking boats can have fatal blind spots. Without proper flotation, it's not fishing, it's gambling. The Silverton 330 Sport Bridge was a comfortable cruiser until it wasn't. In 2003, it faced serious scrutiny over a dangerous propulsion shaft seal issue. If the seal failed while underway, the boat could begin flooding below deck. Fast. Most owners had no idea this weak point even existed. The boat would seem fine on the surface, but water could silently enter the hull until it overwhelmed the bilge. If you were distracted or at anchor, you might not even notice until the boat was sitting low or sinking. The worst part. It wasn't caused by weather, inexperience, or poor maintenance. It was built into the boat. For a vessel marketed as a family cruiser, that's unforgivable. A hidden flaw like that turns leisure into liability in the blink of an eye. The Imar Oasis 23 was supposed to be a cozy cabin cruiser, but a deadly oversight in its ventilation system turned it into a carbon monoxide trap. When the boat was enclosed and running at idle, exhaust fumes could build up inside the cabin undetected. Carbon monoxide is odorless, invisible, and lethal in confined spaces. Without proper airflow or detection systems, even a short cruise could turn into a fatal incident, especially while sleeping or resting below deck. Several boats were flagged for this risk during federal safety reviews. The tragic part is that this danger wasn't from reckless operation. It was from doing everything right. Cruising peacefully, anchoring overnight, and never waking up. CO poisoning doesn't give you a warning. Boats like the Oasis 23 didn't either. That's what made them so dangerous. The Jano Sun Odyssey 490 is a beautiful, modern cruising sailboat. But beneath its elegant design lies a dangerous flaw. A widespread issue with improperly installed bow thrusters caused internal flooding, even in boats that hadn't left the marina. Owners reported water entering the hull through misaligned fittings, often soaking electrical systems and interior compartments. In severe cases, boats began taking on water fast enough to risk sinking at dock or under sail. For a vessel of this caliber, that's a serious design oversight. Sailboats like the Sun Odyssey are often used for long passages. If a flooding event happened offshore, it could become a life-or-death situation quickly. Jeanneau eventually issued a recall, but by then the damage, and several flooded cabins, had already made headlines. Chaparral's late 90s runabout models, the 1935 SS and 2335 SS, were marketed as sporty, reliable family boats. But a serious issue with the fuel-fill fittings made them dangerous to own. Cracks developed near the fittings, allowing fuel to leak into compartments, creating a volatile mix of fumes and spark-prone electronics. One small ignition, from a bilge fan or engine start, could set off a fire or explosion. Owners were often unaware of the issue until the boat failed a survey, or worse, after an incident. The tight quarters and hidden compartments made it even harder to detect leaks. What made it worse? These boats were popular with entry-level boaters. Many didn't have the experience to notice the signs early. That's why this small defect ended up being a very big deal. Gibson's fiberglass houseboats offered homey luxury on the water, spacious, slow-moving, and seemingly safe. But a serious flaw in the exhaust blower system made them one of the most dangerous live-aboard boats of their time. Faulty blowers allowed carbon monoxide to build up inside enclosed areas. Unlike typical cabin cruisers, houseboats are often slept in overnight. And if the blower system wasn't working properly, or turned off to save power, deadly CO levels could accumulate within hours. Several deaths were reported before the issue was widely acknowledged. The danger here wasn't weather or operator error, it was invisible gas in your bedroom. Gibson eventually issued warnings and updates, but the damage had been done. Some of these older models still operate today, often with outdated or failing systems. That's a terrifying thought. Malibu's Monsoon M5 and M6 engines were engineered for power, but a 2025 recall exposed critical flaws in how they were mounted. The engines could shift or vibrate loose under load, leading to fuel leaks, loss of propulsion, or full engine failure mid-operation. In wakeboats, precision matters. If your engine cuts out while you're towing a rider, jumping waves, or maneuvering around docks, the risk skyrockets. These boats were sold to families expecting reliability, not to be left dead in the water during aggressive turns or high-speed pulls. Malibu responded quickly with inspection programs, but many boats were already in use. And without a visual clue, most owners had no idea their dream engine could fail catastrophically. For a flagship power plant, that's a hard pill to swallow. The Tracker Deep V Grizzly is a rugged aluminum fishing boat until the electrical system starts failing. In 2025, the USCG flagged this model for helm wiring defects that could cause total loss of power or steering while underway. Imagine heading back in from a long day on the water when your console goes dark. No throttle, no trim, no nav lights. Now add wind, current, and obstacles. That's not a minor glitch. It's a full systems failure in a vessel that needs constant control. While the hull is solid, the wiring layout near the helm was poorly protected and prone to shorting in wet conditions. Owners had to either rewire or risk being stranded. Not exactly what you expect from a boat branded Grizzly. Built for shallow water and rugged terrain, the Weldcraft 1652 MUV Sportsman X83 promised bulletproof reliability. But a 2025 recall revealed a critical stability issue. The port side of the boat could suddenly tip or roll under weight shift or wave action. This kind of imbalance isn't just annoying, it's hazardous. A simple step to the side or uneven gear loading could cause the boat to list dangerously, especially in choppy water. In a sudden storm or emergency, it could capsize before the operator has time to react. For a boat meant to go where others can't, the lack of reliable lateral stability defeats the whole purpose. Weldcraft fans were disappointed, and rightly so. This was less a rugged fishing boat, more a balancing act with a propeller. Campion's A18 OB was designed to be a nimble, sporty runabout. But in 2025, the USCG issued a recall over flotation issues. The boat couldn't stay upright when swamped with a full passenger load. That's a big problem, especially for smaller family vessels. The A18 was already pushing the limits with higher horsepower options, and when fully loaded with people and gear, it didn't meet minimum buoyancy standards. In rough water, a simple wave over the bow could destabilize the hull, tipping or sinking it before help arrived. What made this worse was the boat's popularity with beginners. It's marketed as easy to tow and launch, ideal for first-timers. But those are exactly the people least likely to know what to do when their boat starts going under. Axis wakeboats are flashy, powerful, and built for big wakes, but their reputation took a hit after repeated reports of fuel system defects. Owners began noticing strong fuel smells in the engine compartment, and some even experienced stalls or near-miss fires during surf sessions. The issue stemmed from poorly fitted fuel lines and loose connections near the tank. Combine that with the heat of a V-drive engine bay and aggressive throttle input, and you've got a dangerous mix. A small leak could lead to a major disaster in seconds. Axis responded with inspection bulletins, but the boats were already in circulation. Many owners didn't realize the risk until a mechanic pointed it out. It's a wakeboat, not a fireball. Safety should come standard, not optional. Penyan boats were built solid for freshwater use, and in their intended environments, they performed admirably. But problems arose when owners took them into salt water. The hulls weren't designed to handle the corrosive effects, leading to rapid rot, delamination, and metal fitting failures. Boaters would often discover the damage too late: stress cracks, soft transoms, or cleats pulling loose under pressure. In rough coastal waters, those failures became emergencies. It wasn't that the boats were bad, it was that they were used beyond their limits. Penyan's downfall wasn't sloppy craftsmanship, it was overconfidence. Owners trusted their build quality without understanding the limitations. And when the sea pushed back, these freshwater warriors just couldn't keep up. Broadwater boats gained a reputation few brands ever shake. They were dubbed death traps by frustrated owners and marine techs alike. Built with extremely light hulls and questionable structural design, these boats were prone to instability, flexing, and even cracking in moderate chop. Unlike high-speed boats that fail under pressure, Broadwaters struggled during regular use. Turning too sharply, hitting wake at the wrong angle, or shifting passenger weight could send them tipping or wallowing dangerously. The deck fittings were equally unreliable. Cleats pulled loose, and railings failed under tension. What makes Broadwater especially alarming is that these weren't performance vessels pushed to their edge. They were leisure boats, failing at leisure speeds. It wasn't just bad construction, it was reckless design that endangered families from day one. Some boats break the bank. These ones break everything else. Stay sharp, stay safe. And if this saved you from a bad buy, drop a like and share it with someone who needs to see it.